Hi guys, welcome to this video where we're going to be looking at cubes. So let's start from revising what perfect cubes are. Plus or minus 1, that's a perfect cube. Plus or minus 8, plus or minus 27. And they go on. Why is plus or minus 1 a perfect cube? Okay, let's look at plus 1. If you multiply 1 times 1 times 1, you get 1. And then negative 1. If you multiply negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, you get negative 1. So if you find the cube root, to find the cube root, they write it like this. The index here is always 3. So they tell you find the cube root of 1, and this is 1, right? Why is plus or minus 8 a perfect cube? Let's start with plus 8. The root of 8 is 2. If you multiply 2 times 2 times 2, you'll get positive 8. And the same with negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, you get negative 8. So 8 is a perfect cube. Why? Because you can get the cube root and it's a whole number. Does that make sense? So it's the same concept as square root, but this is cube root. Okay, so let's get into these examples, right? Find the cube root of negative 27. First of all, you need to find out, is negative 27 a perfect cube? Yes, it's a perfect cube because the cube root of negative 27 is negative 3. So negative 3 is the cube root of negative 27, meaning if I multiply negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, I will get negative 27. So that's the cube root. And then here, they're telling you, get the cube root of 343 and multiply it by 5. So in actual sense, they're telling you, multiply 5 by the cube root of 343. And yes, 343 is a perfect cube because the cube root is 7. So this gives you 7. So 5 times 7, and this gives you 35. So what this means is if you multiply 7 by itself, 7 times 7 times 7, you will get 343. All right, so sometimes though, they will give you a radical that is not a perfect cube. Like in this situation, you look at, this is what we call a radicand, and this is the index. So this index is 3. They're telling you find the cube root of 40. However, when you look at 40, is it a perfect cube? No, it's not a perfect cube because you can not get a cube root of 40, which is a whole number. So in this, can you get two numbers? If you multiply them, you get 40, and 1 is a perfect cube. Two numbers, multiply them, get 40, and 1 is a perfect cube. Yes. Let's break 40 down. I can multiply 8 is a perfect cube times 5, and this will give me 40. So if I want to get the cube root, I'll just get the cube root of this side. I'll do this side, get the cube root of 8, and also get the cube root of 5. And what is the cube root of 8? 2. So, which is the same as 2 times the cube root of 5. But leave this as a radical, right? Because I don't want you to get 1 point something. No, we want to be dealing with a radical in its simplest form. So this can be written as 2 and then 5 cube root, like that. So 2 times the cube root of 5. So you can leave it like that. And then moving on, if you look at these, they were telling you get the cube root of 432, and whatever you get, multiply it by 2. So I always prefer to start with the 432. This is not a perfect cube, but I can make it a perfect cube by thinking about two numbers, one being a perfect cube, and if I multiply those two numbers, I have to get 432. So those two numbers, I can think of 216 times 2. And then, don't forget these 2. I'll come back to it. So if I get the cube root of this side, that means I have to get the cube root of 216 and also get the cube root of 2. The cube root of 216 is 6, and then 2 cube root, something like that. So this is an index, and this is our whole number. These are two different figures, right? But don't forget we had a 2 here. These 2, you remember these 2? It's very easy to forget, so let's not forget it. So if you multiply everything by 2, so 2 multiplied with 6, and this gives you 12. So the overall answer will be 12 and then root of 2. That's the answer. Right, so guys, these are going to take a little bit of practice. Just pause the video and try out these problems and see what you get. Other than that, comment on what you get or where you have any problems, and I'll be happy to address them. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.